Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ape Town from designer Reiner Knizia and publisher Piatnik Games. In Ape Town, the apes have taken over, and that has led to some conflict. It's a mob-themed game, with apes as the mobsters. Dripping with theme! Let's head down to the table, I'll show you how it plays, and then we'll come back here and I'll let you know what I think. Alright, here we see the central board for Ape Town. It is made up of 9 different neighborhood territories in one of 3 colors. You have white, gray, and black on there. Around the outside, you've got these tiles which were randomly shuffled and then placed around the edge of the board. The first 10 tiles are turned face up. Inside of that, you've got the score tracker, and every player gets a score tracker in their color. Also, people are going to get a supply of these translucent plastic tokens in their color, and they're all going to start with some money. Players are going to take turns clockwise, and on your turn, you're going to do 2 things in this order. First, you're going to take a tile, then you're going to place a tile. And if you wanted to take the first available face-up tile in the array, it's free. You just take it and then you place it. If, however, you want something further down the line, you're going to have to place money tokens on each tile that you skip. And again, everyone starts the game with some money, but let's say that the first player here is green. They decide that instead of this tile, they want to take this tile. So they would take one of the money tokens that they have in their supply, they would place it there. Then they're taking this tile. They're going to announce what color space they're removing it from, in this case gray, just to kind of keep everyone honest on where this has to be placed. So this has to be placed in one of the 3 gray neighborhoods on the board in any open spot that they want to. So let's say that they, for this example, green, goes ahead and places it right here. There are 3 of these types of purple background apes in the game. And so I've got 3 here on the board. I'll just show these off to you really quick. You've got the 1-point tarsier, and you can see the 1 printed on there. You can see the tile that was chosen, the 2-point chimpanzee, and then you've got the 3-point mandrill here. Okay, so they had placed the chimpanzee right there. Actually, this was here, and this was over here. All right, when you place these out, you're going to do some immediate scoring, potentially. Anytime you place out one of those 3 types of tiles, you're going to look for any surrounding banana transfer spots, they're called. These kind of these are pre-printed on the board. For each one that's adjacent, you're going to score the number of points that's printed on the tile. So this chimpanzee being placed here is actually going to be worth 4 points for green. You go ahead and immediately you score those points. All right, and it works conversely in the opposite direction. So let's say that blue is first, or is up next. They actually want to skip this one. They'll go ahead and place a money token on that, and then they're going to take this tile, and it has to be in one of the black background areas on the board. So they'll take it and they'll place it right, can't go there because it is gray. They place it right there. So it's going to work in the opposite direction here. So basically every ape tile that's surrounding this would score its corresponding points. They placed it right here, so that's going to score blue 3 points because this is a 3-point mandrill tile. All right, so those are the tiles that you're placing on the board that give you immediate scoring. There are also 2 types of tiles that you place that do not score immediately. Those 2 tiles have a white background. I've got them out here actually. Those are the orangutans and the ring-tailed lemurs. When you place these on the board in whatever the proper, let's say this came from a white background spot, you're going to take one of your transparent color markers and place it on top of that. Works the same way with lemurs. Let's say that the lemur had actually gone over here and a different player had done it. They would go ahead and place their color marker on that. Those don't have immediate scoring when you place them on the board. They're going to be in play when you get to a territory scoring, which happens whenever any of these territories get completely filled with tiles. All right, so let's say we're further on in the game and we are going to be showing off how territory scoring works. Let's say it's the blue player's turn and they're going to be placing out this orangutan to close out this neighborhood right here. They go ahead and they put their token on it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to check and see who the territory boss is, and that's going to be the player that has the most of the orangutans in that completed area. Well, in this case, both blue and yellow have one orangutan in this territory. So the tie then would be broken by who has the most ring-tailed lemurs in this territory. Well, in this case, pink has 2 ring-tailed lemurs, so they're actually going to be the territory boss here. So knowing that, it may not have been a smart play for blue to go in there, but let's just, for the sake of this example, pink is actually going to score any of the mandrills or tarsiers or chimpanzees that were in here. In this case, there's only the one, so pink would score 3 points for that. If there had been actually a tie for ring-tailed lemurs, then there would be no points that were scored in this region. But in this case, pink had that, so they would get that majority scoring. They would get the 3 points. Then you're going to check for inferior neighborhoods. You're going to look to the adjacent neighborhoods. In this case, we've got 3. You've got this gray neighborhood, this white neighborhood. And what you're going to do is you're going to be comparing the number of lemurs in the area that was just completed with any of the neighboring areas. And any neighboring area that has fewer lemurs in it will score. So in this case, we have 3 lemurs in this neighborhood. Over here, we also have 3 lemurs in this neighborhood, so this neighborhood is not going to score. Here we have 1 lemur, so this is going to score, and here we have no lemurs, so these are the 2 quote-unquote inferior neighborhoods that are going to score. The way it's going to work is that you're going to be adding up all of the apes in those neighborhoods, dividing them by the number of players that have lemurs, and then rounding up if needed. So in this case, we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and there are 2 people with lemurs here. So those 12 points would get divided evenly between the pink player and the blue player. A couple of other quick things. Whenever one region is completely cleared out of tiles, you'll go ahead and reveal the next. So there'll always be 2 of these areas that have tiles available in a market. The end of the game is going to trigger whenever the last spot is filled on the board. You would do the territory scoring for whatever that territory was that the last tile was placed in, and then at the end, whoever has the most points is going to win. You'll get 1 point for any bundle of money left in your possession, and if there's a tie after that, whoever would have been next to take a turn would win. There you go, that's Ape Town. Okay, so I was joking in the intro a little bit about the dripping with theme element, and a lot of this designer's games get criticized for lack of theme. Some I feel unfairly, others I think it's a valid complaint, and in Ape Town there is no theme. There's no theme at all. It could have been anything. It could have been pretty much an abstract game. However, that being said, I do kind of like the noir feel they went for. I like that. The art is fine. The board is pretty dark, as you saw in the overview, and so it's not the most colorful and inviting of boards and color palettes that they've used. But, you know, I'm 50-50 on that because I like the noir element of it, but it's not the most attractive looking game, and there is absolutely zero theme involved there. So if you're looking for a thematic experience, this is not going to be that. Otherwise, the components are fine. I would not say that they are good. I would not say that they are poor. The plastic, transparent colored plastic discs, for one reason or another, clearly came off of a sprue, which were they've been removed for you. So when you get them in the game, they're, not on a sprue, but they still clearly have the edging of where they were attached to the sprues. That seems like an odd thing to me that likely could have been dealt with. I don't think that's a great production decision to make, but the board quality is fine. The cardboard quality is good, and that's what's most important. I do think that the colored plastic transparent chips are not the best there, so pointing that out. The rule book is good because it's a very simple game. However, there's one element of the game that is not as simple as I would like, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And the rule book, I think, does its best it can with that. All right, so let's talk about the mechanics of the game. It has one of the hallmarks of Reiner Knizia's games, which is that it has remarkably simple turn structure. You are going to take a tile, and then you're going to place that tile based upon some constraints that are very simple to understand. Many of the tiles are going to be giving you instant scoring, and so there's that kind of satisfaction of doing something very simple and immediately getting points for it. And so that part of it I enjoy. I like that it's such a simple process of taking a tile. If you're skipping any tiles, you're putting money on top of it. That's something that you've seen in many other types of games, so that's not a new or a unique element, but I like it here because maybe you'll just take a tile that may not be your first choice, but if it has 3 or 4 money pile stacked up on it, that's too good to pass up. So you go ahead and do that, and you build up for a future turn where you can use that money to kind of jump ahead a bunch of spots. So I like that mechanic. I've seen it in other games, but I like the way it's implemented here. It's a very simple and clean system. So simple rules, simple scoring when it comes to the immediate scoring discs, tiles. And so that's going to get to one of my kind of biggest issues I have with the game, and that is when it comes to the territory scoring. So every time that you close out a territory on the board, things are going to stop. That simple take a tile, place a tile is going to stop, and you're going to go into a scoring element. And I think that it is a bit convoluted of a scoring system in the context of this game, which is a very simple put a tile, score some points. I wish that the scoring, the territory scoring had been simpler because it would have felt more in line with what you're doing in the game. So as you saw in the overview, basically every time that you're doing a territory scoring, you're going to be evaluating who basically is the boss of that area, and that could lead to a tiebreaker, which will lead to going to the lemurs, and that could be tied, and so that leads to, maybe no one scores. And then once you've done that, you're checking for the inferior neighborhoods in the adjoining areas, and it just seems inelegant and a bit clunky for what is going on in the game, which, like I said, is a very simple process. And that's my biggest problem. I do not think it's a bad game. I'm just going to go ahead and give my score right here. I'm giving it a 6 out of a 10. I'm not giving it a recommendation primarily for 2 reasons. Number one is, as I said, that territory scoring is too convoluted and complex, even though it's not complex, but compared to what else you're doing in the game, it is, and it kind of grinds things to a halt. And the other reason is that it's difficult for me in my job as a reviewer to review this game in a vacuum, and even in a vacuum with other games by this same designer. And so Reiner Knizia is known as one of the best tile laying designers in the business. He's got several stone cold classics, things like Tigris and Euphrates and Through the Desert, where you're placing a tile and doing something. And so there are so many other games, and just one that's a recent one from Simon that came out earlier, Nyakuza, which is a reimplementation of something called Orongo, which is another very kind of a simple laying a tile, doing a thing. It just doesn't stack up to those. And so while I don't think it's a bad game on its own, taking into account the kind of the lack of the theme, so you're not getting any benefit from that. The production is not so spectacular that you're getting a boost from that. It doesn't compare as well to other games by this same designer in this same genre. It means that for me, it's a mid-tier Knizia, not a bad game, because even the mid-tiers of his games are usually, decent, but not one that I feel comfortable recommending, because there are just too many others that give similar feels that do it better than Ape Town, and that's why I'm coming in with a 6. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. This is Mike DiLisio, and I will see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games. We do top 10s. We play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.